The movie begins to show us an Autobot called Orion Pax sneaking himself inside a library to gain some information. He finds a kind of disc inside the cave and decided to insert it into a machine. Just after he does that, a holographic video comes out and begins to explain to us the origin of how the Transformers came to existence. It all begins with the creator of the Transformers called the Primus. To protect the universe, he sacrificed his life for us by transforming himself into a planet called the Cybertron. Inside Cybertron, Primus gave birth to the first Transformers known as the Primes. Primus also created the Matrix of Leadership. With the Matrix in the Prime's possession, energon flowed in abundance, sustaining life across the planet. Peace reigned in the planet for years, but this harmony came to an end when the quintessons invaded the planet and attacked. After that, the Matrix of Leadership disappeared and the energon flow was gone. Just as Orion wanted to learn more about the story, a security drone finds Orion in the library and alerts Darkwing and his brother. Of course, Orion is in trouble as him entering this library is considered as trespassing, and minors like him have no right, nor are they allowed to have access to this place. Darkwing and his brother are fed up because this is not the first time he has sneaked inside the library. They decided to chase him, but since Orion doesn't have the ability to transform, they decided to give him a head start to run. Just after a few seconds of Orion running, the brothers transforms into jets and begins to chase him. He jumps out of the library window, and as he falls to his death, he turns on a jetpack that allows him to land slowly to the ground. The chase doesn't end as we see Orion jumping from one bridge to the other. Just as the Transformers catches him, Orion's best friend called D comes to his rescue. He distracted the Transformers, which gives Orion the chance to hide himself, then he shows them a wrong way to look for him. After they left, D argues with Orion for risking his life in that manner, all because he wants to retrieve an ancient data, which will help him find the Matrix of Leadership. D tells him that Sentinel Prime is already outside their planet searching for it, and reminds Orion that they are just minors and it's not their job to save the universe, but Orion just have this feeling he was meant to do something more. He gifts D with a sticker he found in the library that has the face of Megatron Prime on it. The two shakes themselves, promising to always have their backs no matter what. The two friends later shows up to work with Alita, the captain of the mining expedition. We find out that due to the perfection in her mining record, she will soon be promoted as supervisor. A tunnel opens and Alita leads some Autobots inside it using jetpacks. Orion and T joins the expedition, and they were able to mine a lot of energon in a matter of minutes. But something really bad happens as the tunnel begins to explode. Alita gives the bots orders to evaluate out of the tunnel, but Orion and D goes back to help an Autobot called Jax who gets trapped in a rock. They disobey Alita orders to leave Jax behind, and they manage to use a jetpack to pull him out of the rock, but at the cost of Jax losing one of his legs. They barely manage to escape, but Alita scolds them because she can end up being fired because they disobey her orders. Just instantly, a superior called Darkwing shows up and tells Alita that she's fired for not following the protocols. Orion and D boldly confronts Darkwing for his bad judgment on Alita, but they ended up getting a brutal punch on the face. Anyway, their sad moment turned to joy when they hear an announcement informing all bots to stand by for a live transmission because their ruler, Sentinel Prime, is back. Through a live transmission, Sentinel Prime appears in a holographic form to thank all the miners for their hard work, which has helped the planet a lot. Sentinel Prime is outside the planet, and the reason of his departure was to find the Matrix of Leadership, the key of bringing balance to Cybertron. He sadly informs them that after searching so hard, he was unable to find the Matrix of Leadership, but promises not to give up on finding it so energon can flow again. To cheer everyone up, he announced to all the bots that there will be no work tomorrow as there will be a big racing tournament. Later that night, Orion wakes D from his sleep to suggest a great idea to him. Orion suggests they should both participate in the race tomorrow. They don't even have to win the race, but if they can at least beat just one Transformer, not only will they be known as the mighty bots that did the impossible in history, but they will as well show everyone that they are capable of so much more. But D doesn't believe they can win because they are just mining bots who can't transform. And without transforming, it's impossible to race. Just as the race is about to begin, Orion sneaks D to the highest floor of a building where they can have a better view of the race. Their leader, Sentinel Prime, shows up right before the race to begin to honor the Prime Transformers who gave their lives to protect this planet. Immediately after his speech, he begins the race and we see all the participants transforming into vehicles and begin to compete. It turns out Orion had a different reason for taking D really high to a building close to the race. Using a jetpack, he carries D on his arms and joins the race. Sentinel Prime sees this and is shocked on how miners were able to join the race. The other bots are so happy to see this and cheers for them, because this is the first time in history for miners to join the race. D is pissed at Orion for not telling him beforehand and bluffs about killing him after the race. Just as the fuel for their jetpack finished, Orion and D decided to improvise by holding onto the other Transformers in their vehicle form, but later got pushed away. Orion and his friend are not ready to give up. They launch themselves using a kind of force and skyrocket to the third place. Just as they are really close to the finish line, Darkwing knocks them out and they ended up as the last position. Orion and D gets arrested for joining the race, which leads D blaming Orion, who made him join the race out of his will. Although he enjoyed it and felt different, he feels they are surely going to be punished and demoted. Sentinel Prime meets Orion and D and tells them that what they did today is the craziest thing he has ever seen. To their surprise, Sentinel is really impressed that they joined the race and even gave his best racers a real run for their money. Anyway, Sentinel decided to go and prepare for his next trip to the surface to continue his search for the Matrix of Leadership, but before that, he reveals to have a job for them both. He commands Darkwing to escort them to his personal service facility to give them a better job. They are taken to Sentinel Prime Personal Service Facility, which is a place where no one can ever hear from them or see them. They will have no friends here nor have much time for themselves as they will be working non-stop. They met a bot called Bumblebee who was surprised to see another bot since the hundreds of years he has been working here. Bumblebee explains to Orion and D their job. Every trash being thrown in the planet comes to this place, so their job is to check out anything useful in any trash that comes in here before burning it down. Orion hears a voice from one of the trash and goes to check it out. They find a microchip, and as Orion touches it, they see a holographic video from one of the primes called Alpha Tyrion with his coordinates calling for support as they are being attacked by the quintessons. They also see a kind of map that shows them where they can find the Matrix of Leadership. Orion sees this as a clue for them to find the Matrix of Leadership and wants to go to the surface, but D is totally against the idea because going to the surface is really dangerous. But not wanting to stay his whole life down in this facility, he changes his mind. They asked Bumblebee if there is any way they can go to the surface, and he says yes. They escape from the facility through a garbage chute, and Bumblebee sneaks them to the only train on their planet that can take them directly to the surface. They find Alita, who is forced to become a worker in the train. Alita attacks them and runs to notify Darkwing concerning them escaping the facility, but the fight stops just as the train got them to the surface. Their mouths are wide open, surprised on how magnificent the surface is. Orion shows Alita that he has a map that could lead them to where the Matrix of Leadership is. Unfortunately for them, the group realizes that the surface of Cybertron is alive and is actively defending itself from the train that is carrying some energon to its destination. The ground rises and this causes the train to be derailed, leading to the bots to fly away from it. Just as the bots wakes up, Alita takes the map from Orion and decides to lead the group on the expedition, but threatens that if the map doesn't lead them to the Matrix of Leadership, she will drag him back to Cybertron herself, or he will face punishment for escaping. On their way, they find hundreds of bot deers. All of a sudden, the deers begin to run, making Orion and his friends to hide themselves, because whatever the deers might be running from will be dangerous. As they hide, a gigantic quintessence ship passes them. It spots one of the deers and kills it instantly. Just as they notice the ship is looking for life forms, they all go to a better place to hide. After the ship left, they continue to follow the map, which leads them to a cave with teeth. They enter the cave to find the corpse of primes that died long ago in the battle. They realize the primes were ambushed in battle. Among all the corpses, Orion realizes that one of the prime called Alpha Tyrion is not dead. They find an energon on the floor and places it inside Alpha Tyrion's chest, which wakes him up. Alpha Tyrion reveals something shocking to them. He says that Sentinel is not actually a prime, and they are just being deceived. Thousands of years ago, the war with the quintessence has been a brutal conflict. At that time, Sentinel was just a servant who got jealous of the primes because of the special treatment they were getting from Primus. Sentinel revealed to the primes he has a very important information that can be used to defeat the quintessence. He requested them to meet him at a specific location, which they did, but behind their backs, Sentinel alerts the quintessence who ambushed the primes at the particular location and killed them. Sentinel did not only do this out of jealousy, but he also wanted to have the Matrix of Leadership for himself so he can stop the quintessence from attacking Cybertron in exchange of energon. But however, Sentinel never knew that the Matrix of Leadership is not something that can be obtained by anyone, but it is instead earned with values and good heart. But Sentinel is a corrupt, bad, and despicable person, and as soon as he tries to take the Matrix of Leadership, it vanished into the air. Orion and his friends are heartbroken that the person whom they idolized and saw as their leader is in alliance to the quintessons. We find out that Sentinel forced the bots into mining so they can dig energons, which he secretly gives to quintessons to save his skin, gain power, and maintain good relations with them. D is so furious that Sentinel has been deceiving every one of them and wants to kill him by any means possible to show the other bots for the fake Prime that he is. Alpha Tyrion tells them that every bot was born with a Transformer core. Sentinel removed their Transformer cores before they were brought online, that's why none of them have the ability to transform. But Alpha Tyrion concludes that what defines a Transformer is not the core on his chest, but a spark that resides in their core. A spark gives you the will to make your world better. Alpha Tyrion tells them his fellow Primes had the spark and he sees the Prime strength in them. Alpha Tyrion immediately removes the core from all the dead Prime Transformers and gives it to Orion and his friends so they can access their full potentials. Now he is giving them the ability to change their world, and how they should use the power is up to them. After a while, the quintessons found them. Alpha Tyrion gives them a video recording which is a proof that Sentinel is a traitor, and tells them to rush back to Cybertron to warn the rest. Alpha Tyrion decided to stay behind to hold off the quintessons so they can have enough time to escape. He transforms into a wolf-like bot to fight them. Meanwhile, as Orion and his friends are escaping, they decided to try and transform since they now have cores. But no matter how they try it, it wasn't working. Just as they get blocked by the quintessence who tries to kill them, they unconsciously transforms into various vehicles, which help them to lose sight of the quintessence. Sentinel captures Alpha Tyrion and questions him on the identity of the bots who were with him in the cave. Just as Alpha Tyrion says they are bots who are going to defeat him, Sentinel brings out his blade and kills him. Just as the group journey back to Cybertron, D talks about not putting his fate in any leader ever again, and is so determined to kill Sentinel. On their way, they all got electrocuted and are taken to a basement. They are surrounded by hundreds of bots led by a Transformer on a throne called Starscream. Starscream reveals to Orion and his friends that they are old high guards of Cybertron who were present at the time of Sentinel betrayal. Ever since that day, they had been fighting from the shadows, doing whatever they can to sabotage Sentinel. Starscream says that for them to defeat Sentinel, they should appoint him as the new leader, but D is so fed up in hearing the word leader. He had promised himself never to put his trust on any leader, and just as he decided to leave, Starscream got so angry as his act is a huge disrespect to him. Starscream and D end up fighting one another. D defeat him, and he surprises everyone when he brings out a weapon from his body. Orion reminds that Starscream is not the enemy but Sentinel is. D tells the High Guards to bear witness, as this will be the last time he will show mercy. He gives them a choice to either stay here with their pathetic leader hiding, or they can follow him and march back to Cybertron so they can take down Sentinel once and for all. Orion is shocked as his best friend has totally changed. Just during the talk, Sentinel troop shows up at their hideout and begins attacking everyone. They are outnumbered and half of them were captured, including Starscream and D, while very few of them were able to hide themselves, and that includes Orion and Alita. Alita motivates Orion not to give up, and Orion decided to create an army with the surviving old guards. His first plan is to save D and Bumblebee from the prison of Sentinel, and this can work with a surprise attack. We see D and Bumblebee who are being tied down with the other bots. Sentinel reveals he was the one who killed Megatron Prime and took his core, which made him so powerful. He plans to take them to Cybertron and lie to the other bots that they are traitors. Then after that, he will kill them. Orion returns back to Cybertron and sneaks inside the mine to recruit his once fellow miners into soldiers. He tells them the truth about everything and how Sentinel has been deceiving them their whole life. All the miners are so motivated by Orion's speech, and they begin to chant his name. Back to Sentinel. Just as he is about to kill D, who refuses to stay down, Alita and the old guard shows up to attack them. Orion also shows up with the miners and joins the attack. Orion frees D and reveals to know how to stop Sentinel, but D wants to handle it his own way. The final battle we have all been waiting for begins as Orion and D fights with Sentinel. Sentinel pins D to the ground and begins to talk about his evil deeds, but what he doesn't know is Orion took the opportunity to broadcast what he was saying to every bot on the planet to watch. Just as Sentinel is distracted, D attacks him from behind. D tries to kill him with his weapon, but Orion stops him. Orion tells him they have won the battle as everyone now knows how evil Sentinel is, and rebuilding a new nation does not have to start with an execution. But D lets angry and pain to take over him. He punches Orion out of his way and goes to finish what he started by killing Sentinel. Just as he loads his gun and shoots at Sentinel, Orion, who tries to stop him, ended up taking the bullet. D catches Orion as he was about to fall off a cliff, but all of a sudden decided to change his mind. His eyes turns red, and he lets go of Orion Hand and he falls off a cliff. D carries Sentinel and tears his body to pieces. He pulls out the core of Megatron Prime out of Sentinel and tells all the High Guards to follow him and they will never be deceived. Orion falls inside a realm where he comes in contact with the ghosts of the Primes, who tells him that his noble sacrifice for the greater good has proven him worthy in the eyes of Primus. Because of that, they decided to give him the Matrix of Leadership. On the other hand, D places the Megatron Prime core inside his chest and becomes Megatron, while the Matrix of Leadership is being placed inside the chest of Orion, which turned him into Optimus Prime. Just as Megatron tries to kill the bots who are against his rulership, Optimus Prime shows up. He engages in a fight with Megatron. This was a really long and epic fight. Megatron gained the upper hand at first, but suddenly Optimus releases an axe-like weapon and defeated Megatron in a matter of seconds. He decided to spare Megatron life but banishes him and the High Guards from City. Megatron leaves but tells Prime that it is not yet over until it is over. Optimus Prime appoints Bumblebee and Alita as his commanders, and the best of all is Energon returns back to Cybertron. The Energons enters the chest of all the miners, making them Transformers, and that was how the movie ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.